You've been wearing a mask for so long that you've forgotten what your real face looks like. Every day, you wake up and put on a performance so convincing that even you believe it's authentic. But deep inside, something essential is dying, suffocating beneath layers of pretense that were never meant to be permanent. The most tragic part isn't that you're lying to others. It's that you've become so skilled at this deception that you're lying to yourself. You've crafted a persona so carefully designed to be accepted, loved, and successful that you've lost all connection to the person you actually are underneath it all. Right now, as you're processing these words, there's probably a part of you that's already preparing to defend your mask. "This isn't about me," it whispers. "I'm authentic. I'm just being professional. I'm just being appropriate." But that defensive voice? That's the mask talking. That's the false self fighting to maintain its grip on your life, terrified that you might remember who you were before you learned to hide. Think about the last time you were completely alone. No phone, no distractions, no one to perform for. In that silence, did you feel peaceful and connected to yourself? Or did you feel uncomfortable, anxious, maybe even panicked by the absence of external validation and stimulation? That discomfort is your authentic self trying to breathe underneath the suffocating weight of who you pretend to be. The mask isn't just about what you show others. It's about what you've trained yourself to believe about yourself. You've convinced yourself that your mask is an improvement, a more mature version, a necessary adaptation to an adult world. But here's the devastating truth. Every day you wear that mask, you're choosing to kill a little more of who you really are. Carl Jung warned us about this psychological tragedy. He said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But most people spend their lifetime becoming who they think they should be, who others expect them to be, who society rewards them for being. They perfect their performance until they can't tell the difference between the actor and the character. You learned to wear masks early. Maybe you discovered that being the good child got you attention and approval. Maybe you found that being funny deflected criticism and conflict. Maybe you realized that being agreeable made relationships easier, or that being aggressive made you feel powerful, or that being invisible kept you safe. These masks served a purpose once. They protected you when you were vulnerable, helped you navigate environments where your authentic self wasn't welcome. But what was once protection has become a prison. What was once a survival strategy has become a slow suicide. The tragedy is that your mask is probably very successful. It might get you promoted, make you popular, win you relationships. But success achieved through a false self is the emptiest victory imaginable, because deep down you know that people are responding to your performance, not to you. If this recognition is already stirring something uncomfortable in your chest, something that feels like grief mixed with relief, imagine what comes next. Subscribe to discover how to remove the mask without losing everything you think it's protecting. Let me show you how your mask operates by examining the daily cost of maintaining it. Every morning you wake up and immediately begin the exhausting process of becoming someone else. You check your phone to see what version of yourself you need to be today. You look in the mirror and adjust not just your appearance, but your entire energy to match what you think the world expects. Watch how much mental energy you spend monitoring your performance throughout the day. Notice how you modulate your voice differently for different people. Observe how you adjust your opinions based on who's listening. See how you suppress certain emotions while amplifying others, depending on what seems appropriate for the situation. This constant shape-shifting is exhausting because it requires you to be hyper-vigilant about how you're being received. You can't relax into authenticity because you're always calculating, what will they think? How should I respond? What version of myself do they need to see right now? The mask forces you to live from the outside in instead of from the inside out. Instead of expressing what you genuinely feel, you express what you think will get the response you want. Instead of sharing what you actually think, you share what you believe will make you look smart, agreeable, or interesting. This creates a devastating disconnection from your own inner life. You become so focused on managing external perceptions that you lose touch with your internal reality. You stop asking yourself what you want and start asking what you should want. You stop noticing what you feel and start performing what you think you should feel. The mask also creates a terrible loneliness, even when you're surrounded by people. Because no matter how much approval you get, how much success you achieve, how many relationships you maintain, you know at some level that none of it is really for you. It's all for the character you're playing. This is why so many seemingly successful people feel empty inside. They've won a game that wasn't worth winning. They've achieved everything their mask was designed to achieve, only to discover that the achievement feels hollow because it wasn't accomplished by their authentic self. But here's what's even more insidious. The mask doesn't just hide your weaknesses and flaws. It also hides your greatest strengths and most unique gifts. In your effort to be acceptable, you've learned to suppress not just what might be rejected, but also what might be too powerful, too different, too extraordinary for others to handle. Think about the parts of yourself that you've learned to tone down. Your intensity, your sensitivity, your unconventional ideas, your wild creativity, your deep emotions, your spiritual insights, your radical honesty. You've probably convinced yourself that suppressing these qualities makes you more mature, more professional, more socially appropriate. But what if those suppressed qualities contain your greatest power? What if the very things you've learned to hide are exactly what the world needs from you? What if your mask isn't just hiding your flaws, but also concealing your genius? The mask creates a cruel paradox. The more successful it becomes at getting you what you think you want, the further it takes you from what you actually need. It might get you the job, but not the work that fulfills you. It might get you the relationship, but not the love that nourishes you. It might get you the approval, but not the respect that empowers you. Every day you wear the mask, you're training yourself to distrust your authentic impulses and rely instead on calculated responses. You're teaching yourself that who you really are isn't good enough, smart enough, interesting enough, worthy enough to be loved and accepted as you are. This creates a terrible fragility in your sense of self. Because if your worth depends on maintaining a performance, then any crack in that performance threatens your entire identity. You become addicted to external validation because you've lost touch with internal validation. You need constant reassurance that your mask is working, that your performance is convincing, that your act is holding together. But there's something even more tragic happening that most people never recognize. The mask doesn't just hide you from others, it actively prevents you from discovering who you really are. Every time you choose the calculated response over the authentic impulse, you move further away from your true nature. Every time you suppress a genuine feeling to maintain your image, you deepen the disconnection from your inner life. You've probably told yourself that you'll explore your authentic self later, when it's safer, when you have more security, when you retire, when the kids are grown, when you have enough money. But here's the terrifying truth. The longer you wear the mask, the harder it becomes to remove. The neural pathways of authenticity atrophy from disuse, while the patterns of performance become stronger and more automatic. There are people who have worn their masks for so long that they literally don't know who they are underneath. They've become so identified with their performance that the thought of removing it feels like psychological death. They'd rather live as a successful fake than risk discovering they might be an unsuccessful, authentic person. But authenticity isn't about success or failure, it's about aliveness. When you're being genuinely yourself, you feel vitally alive regardless of external outcomes. When you're performing a mask, you feel deadened inside, regardless of external rewards. The mask also creates what psychologists call Imposter syndrome. The persistent feeling that you're a fraud who's going to be discovered. But imposter syndrome isn't a pathology. It's accurate perception. If you're wearing a mask, you are an imposter. The anxiety you feel isn't irrational. It's your authentic self trying to alert you to the fact that you're living a lie. Here's what will liberate you. The thing you're most afraid will happen if you remove your mask. Rejection, criticism, loss of status is already happening. You're already being rejected because the real you isn't even present to be accepted. You're already being criticized because you're constantly criticizing yourself for not being authentic. You're already losing your status because status built on a false foundation is inherently unstable. The mask promises security but delivers anxiety. It promises acceptance but creates isolation. It promises success but breeds emptiness. It's the worst trade in human psychology. You give up everything that makes you uniquely you in exchange for generic approval that doesn't even satisfy you when you get it. But removing the mask requires tremendous courage, because it means facing the possibility that who you really are might not be immediately rewarded by the world around you. It means accepting that authentic living might involve initial discomfort, confusion, and social friction as you learn to navigate life without your familiar protective personas. The journey back to authenticity isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing everything that isn't you. It's about peeling away the layers of conditioning, expectation, and fear that have accumulated over your true nature like psychological scar tissue. This process starts with developing what I call authenticity awareness, beginning to notice the difference between when you're being genuine and when you're performing. Start paying attention to how your body feels when you're being real versus when you're putting on an act. Notice the difference in your energy, your voice, your presence. Authentic moments feel spacious, relaxed, spontaneous. Performed moments feel tight, calculated, effortful. Your body is constantly giving you feedback about when you're aligned with your true nature and when you're betraying it. Begin with small experiments in authenticity. Share a genuine opinion instead of the one you think people want to hear. Express a real emotion instead of the one that seems appropriate. Ask for what you actually want instead of what you think you should want. Yes, some people might be uncomfortable with your increased authenticity, but here's what you'll discover. The people who are disturbed by your genuineness are usually the ones who are most invested in their own masks. Your authenticity threatens their performance, so they'll try to pressure you back into playing along with the collective charade. But you'll also discover something magical. There are people who have been waiting their entire lives to meet the real you. There are opportunities that can only come to your authentic self. There are experiences that are only available when you're being genuinely who you are. The mask has convinced you that you need to earn love, acceptance, and success through performance. But the deepest truth is that love, acceptance, and genuine success are only possible when you're being authentically yourself. Everything else is just elaborate loneliness dressed up as connection. Your authentic self isn't something you need to create or develop or improve. It's something you need to uncover and express. It's been there all along, waiting beneath the masks, growing stronger in the darkness, ready to emerge the moment you have the courage to let it breathe. The world doesn't need another perfect performance. It needs your authentic contribution. It needs what you uniquely have to offer when you're being genuinely yourself. It needs your real thoughts, your genuine emotions, your authentic perspective, your unique way of being human. Stop killing yourself slowly with the mask of who you think you should be. Start living fully as who you actually are. The person you were before you learned to hide is still there, and they have been waiting patiently for you to remember that being yourself is not just enough, it's everything. If this message has touched the part of you that remembers what it felt like to be authentic, if it's awakened the courage to start removing the masks that have been suffocating your true self, then like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who needs permission to stop performing and start living. Because the world is desperately waiting for more people brave enough to show up as who they really are. And that transformation begins with the courage to take off the mask and breathe as yourself again.